I defended a guilty client and paid the price. In the bustling city of Los Angeles, I, Sarah Morgan, was a highly respected defense attorney with a flawless record. I prided myself on my ability to secure justice for even the most challenging cases. But when I agreed to defend Daniel West, a wealthy businessman accused of embezzlement and fraud, I had no idea that I was about to embark on the most tumultuous journey of my career. From the moment I met Daniel, I sensed an air of arrogance and entitlement about him. Yet, he exuded charm and charisma, making it easy to believe his claims of innocence. As I dug deeper into his case, I uncovered a tangled web of deceit and manipulation, but Daniel remained adamant that he was being framed. Despite the mounting evidence against him, I threw myself into Daniel's defense, determined to uphold my reputation and secure his acquittal. But as the trial progressed, cracks began to appear in Daniel's story. Witnesses contradicted his alibis, and documents emerged that painted a damning picture of his guilt. Yet, I refused to give up on Daniel, convinced that there was more to the story than met the eye. I pored over every detail of the case, searching for a loophole or a shred of evidence that could exonerate him. But the more I searched, the more I realized the truth: I was defending a guilty man. As the trial reached its climax, I found myself torn between my duty as a lawyer and my conscience. Should I continue to defend Daniel, knowing the harm he had caused? Or should I abandon him and face the consequences of betraying a client? In a moment of desperation, I made a decision that would change everything. I confronted Daniel with the evidence against him, hoping he would come clean and plead guilty. But instead of admitting his guilt, he turned on me, threatening to destroy my career and reputation if I didn't secure his acquittal. Feeling trapped and alone, I stood before the court and delivered a passionate defense, painting Daniel as a victim of circumstance rather than a criminal mastermind. But deep down, I knew it was all a lie. As the jury deliberated, I grappled with the consequences of my actions. Had I sold my soul for the sake of winning? Had I become the very thing I swore to fight against, a defender of the guilty? In the end, the jury returned with a verdict guilty on all counts. Daniel was sentenced to decades in prison, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. In the aftermath of Daniel's conviction, my life spiraled into chaos. My once thriving legal career lay in ruins, and I found myself ostracized by the very community I had worked so hard to impress. With no clients willing to trust me and mounting debts looming over me, I was on the brink of losing everything. I couldn't afford rent, let alone groceries. Each day felt like a battle against despair, but I refused to give up. Desperate for a fresh start, I swallowed my pride and took on small, menial jobs to make ends meet. I worked as a waitress during the day and cleaned offices at night, barely earning enough to survive. But even in the darkest moments, I clung to the hope that things would get better. As months passed, I slowly began to rebuild my life. I enrolled in legal seminars and volunteered at legal aid clinics, determined to prove that I was still a competent lawyer despite my fall from grace. One day, a former colleague reached out to me with a pro bono case: a young woman accused of a crime she didn't commit. It was my chance for redemption, a chance to prove to myself and others that I was still capable of delivering justice. I threw myself into the case with renewed vigor, leaving no stone unturned in my quest for the truth. I spent countless hours poring over evidence, interviewing witnesses, and preparing a defense that would exonerate my client. And finally, on the day of the trial, I stood before the court and delivered a performance that left even the toughest critics in awe. With passion and precision, I dismantled the prosecution's case piece by piece, revealing the truth and securing my client's freedom. In that moment, I knew I had overcome the greatest challenge of my life. I had risen from the ashes of my past mistakes, stronger and more determined than ever before. And as I walked out of the courtroom, head held high, I knew that no matter what obstacles lay ahead, I would face them with courage and resilience. For I was Sarah Morgan, the devil's advocate turned champion of justice.